Minutes before we get started, but I wanted to touch base with you. I see that there's a couple of new people here that I don't recognize your name, that you haven't been on here before, but and a lot of familiar faces. So what I would tell you is, if you have a question, the little panel over the little control panel that you get with GoToWebinar, all you have to do is go over to the question section and ask me a question, and I may choose to wait for a little bit before I get to that, but I will get to it, and I'll try and answer it. And for those of you who, if I don't for some reason get to it, or I forget or something, I go through all the questions after we're done, and I usually will send you an email and answer them the best I can afterwards, especially if it's something that I've got to go look up. I hope you guys are doing great there. It's pretty much fall season here, and really enjoying the fall weather. But we'll get started here in another minute or so. We're going to give people a couple of minutes to jump in and join us. Okay, as we get started, today's thing is going to be another two-part thing. We're going to, for the month of October, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about how to get found online. And what I mean by that is we're going to talk about what parts of you do you really need to be found online. I mean, obviously, you guys, a lot of you participate in social media, and you go out and you do a lot of things trying to connect with people that you already know. And what you want to do is have other parts where people who don't even know you at all can find you and connect with you and come back to your website and basically start a conversation with you. And ideally, these people would be people that are either looking to buy or sell real estate. So one of the things that we first need to start off with is a definition of what do we want to be found for online. And there's two things that we're going to go over for the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to start with some basic stuff today, but we're going to kick it up a notch. We're going to build on the foundation of what we do today, and we're actually going to try and do some of this. So if for whatever reason you can't do it along with us, that's okay. What we'll do is I've given you kind of a homework assignment at the end to get you ready for what we do next, in a couple of weeks. So the first thing that needs to be found online is your listings. Obviously, they're already online in a lot of places because you've syndicated them out to any website, any real estate website that's out there. By putting them on the MLS, they go out to a lot of the syndication sites as well, like Trulia, Zillow, all those. So in that sense, your listings are out there, but are they really found? And we're going to talk about what being found means. Being found means that against their competition for the same people at the same price, the same listings at the same price in the same area, are they clicking on yours first? And that's really what we're looking for, is that competitive advantage. So the second piece of it is you, and that's your name needs to be found online. I was doing something interesting a couple of days ago with Gary. I was actually going through the logs of who was looking for us on and who was looking for us on realestategrp.com on the main site. And it's interesting that as you peruse through all the what people were searching for to come to Real Estate GRP, quite a number of them were looking for your names. They were looking for your name plus realtor. They were checking you out online, and since Real Estate GRP was there, that was a natural where they would go in and look at that, which should point a couple of things out to us. The first one is that people, as a natural result of you doing your regular marketing, or you're going out into the world, and even if you're on Facebook or what have you, or you've got signs in the yard, people are going to Google you before they start to do business with you. And so how do you be found there, and how do you being found means starting the conversation and getting going there, as well as your listing. So those are the two things that we need to do. And then the third piece is that we need to make sure that when people do find it, it's appropriate and accurate. And so we're going to work on those three things today, but primarily finding you and then finding your listings. Okay. Here's an interesting thought. You will not be found if you're not unique. What I mean by that is if you everything that is there online about you is the same as everybody else's, there's no way for Google or anybody else for that matter to differentiate. So you have to be unique. And I'll show you some examples of how that plays in today. The whole idea is to be unique in a good way. It's a way that'll get you noticed. Maybe you're unique because of that you've actually gone in and filled out a lot of the profiles online. Maybe you're unique because of some of the things that you do. But that's what will cause you to be found, and we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about some things you might be doing that are a waste of your time right now. Not necessarily bad, but they just aren't accomplishing you any good, and they're chewing up a lot of your time and your effort. And so what we want to do is try and minimize those things. So let's get started. Step number one, believe it or not, is a place called Google Places. And Google Places is basically your map online. It's where you put a pin in the map and say, this is where my business is, and as a real estate agent, I'm ready to do business with you. And you can talk a little bit about what you do. So we're going to start by Googling Eric Blackwell, and you can see, actually, I've changed it since then because Google shifted where it's not showing it. But we'll go there in a second, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's also a major factor in Google Local. If you guys have ever Googled a local plumbing business, or if you just type in plumber in your search engine, what you'll see a lot of times is these little balloons and little balloon-like icons, and it has a list of them, like about 8 or 10 of them. And when people go in and look at those, that's known as Google Local. And on there, it takes you right to a map of all these of 8 or 10 different plumbers. And nowadays, if you click on there, it takes them to your Google Places page, and it also takes you to their it will take you right to reviews about them. And I don't know whether you know that or not, but we're going to go take a look real quick here and do that. So having a Google Places page is a major factor in Google Local. If you don't have a Google Places page, you likely will not be ranked in Google Local. So if you haven't done it, we're actually going to go do it and set it up this morning, and going to show you how to do it. So the first, well, let's go out and take a look at the actual deal here, and we'll go out and look at Google Places. Let me see if I can find it here. Let's go down to, okay. If you go to, let's just go, I was looking for Marge on here, but we're going to go back, and let's just say if I type in plumber, right? Oops. First I've got to get back to the web. I'm searching the web on Google, and let's say that I type in plumber, okay? Or plumber supply. Okay? What you will see, and you'll see this for Indiana because it knows that I'm here in Indiana, but the same applies to you guys. And what you can do, I'm going to scroll down here. You see this list of people? This is what's known as Google Local. And what it's doing is what Google's doing is they're going out and looking at all of the different people that are out there that call themselves plumbers, that are in that category. So then what they're doing is they're actually going out, and they've got a page to give you, like Stemler Plumbing. If I click on the place page for Stemler Plumbing, this is the Google Places page. If I click on that, it tells me a little bit about them. Now, there happen to be no reviews on there, I don't think. Maybe there are. No, there's no reviews on it. Okay. But it shows me a little bit about them. It shows me directions to their place. It has a phone number, the whole thing. Well, how does that get in there? That's part of that Google Places thing that we were talking about. On the web, let's go back, and a couple of these had reviews. And the reason why I use Plumbers is because I really didn't want to embarrass anybody that's a realtor. But if you click on Jerry Bryant and Sons Plumbing, and this actually has the reviews, it takes you to the reviews. Now, Jerry did very quick and fair work for us. All right, that's great. That was posted on September 23rd, 2011. Okay, another one. Service was A++++. So overall, this is awesome, right? This is the kind of thing that you want. All right. And now you're going to find some in here that are negative, and that's where I wanted to talk. What I wanted to talk to you about. He just left our house and will not be called again. We're having issues with our water heater, not wanting to light, so called him. He was polite, but that was the only good thing. He never listened to our description of a problem we had previously, tried to unsafely light the heater, and never did get it going. Well, this sounds like I don't know. I'm not sure that that's a fair assessment of him, but fair or not, it's out there. And then on his way out the door, he was even trying to push us to go to church with him. Yikes. Okay. So, I mean, nothing wrong with that, but this up here may tend to drive people away from you. And when something like that happens, you can flag it as being inappropriate. All right? Or you can disagree with it. But that's how you do it. You flag it as being inappropriate, and you put it in there and offer an explanation. And that's usually how you correct the issue. But you can see that you can have both good and bad reviews on there, and it's important to keep your eye on that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go in and actually set up a Google Places page, okay? And the easiest way to do that is to go in here, and you go to google.com. And let me go back here. There's a bunch of stuff here. So we're going to go to google.com/places. And this is a big, long thing here, so it'll take me a second. Okay. So we're going to go to google.com/places. Okay. And when you go to google.com/places, before you do this, you need to have an email address and a Google account, because if you don't, it's going to ask you to set up a Google account. So when you hit Get Started, it just says claim your business listing on Google for free. So you're going to need a Google account. All right. So most people, what they will do is create one here that's a Google account, and then you put a password in. They mail it to you, so you've got it verified that you're there. And then you sign in and you start building Google Places. Now I'm going to take you back to the presentation. I'm going to show you some things on how to do it. And realize we will post this back up so you can follow along and play along. But the first step is to get a Google account. The second step is to go in and sign in. And they're going to start asking you questions, like they're going to have you fill out a profile about yourself. What's your name? What's your address? What's your business? And you can put up to 5 different categories in. And I'm going to go back here now so we can do this. Okay. We're going to go back in here. Make sure you have a Google or Gmail account. Don't use your personal Gmail account. Make sure it's a unique one for your business. And then make sure you're logged out of your personal Google account. Sometimes you go in, and the way that you can tell is when you go into Google, if you see your little picture up there in the upper right-hand corner, then you know that you're logged in as you. And that's not what you want. So you make sure that you're logged out. Next, to get started setting up your page, you go to Google Places and create an account. Okay, it says list your business. You need to enter your primary phone number, and Google may have some information already about you. They may already have set something up. They may have been somebody else may have put you in there, because they can do that. You still have the opportunity to verify it and to personalize it with your own business details, because if somebody else put it in there at some point, it may not be accurate, and you may want to add to it. You can put up to 5 different types of business, and this is some other stuff that I'm going to put in here. These product and service keywords is what I'm talking about. You can put 5 of them, but you can also, I'm sorry, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about up here. They allow you to select up to 5. So you may want to put real estate agent, and different things in there. You can include a wide variety of things. I do a wide variety of things, so I have more than that in there. It also gives you more opportunities to get people, because people may be looking for one thing or another. Okay? It's important that one of your categories is one of Google's default suggestions. Okay? When Google suggests something to you, listen to them, because if you do that, it'll help you rank higher with Google Local. So that's important. The other thing that I'll tell you, we were talking about being unique, and there's something important that I need to go into, because you guys are at a little bit of a disadvantage. Google, the way that it does things, it makes, you notice it puts pins in the map, and that's both good and bad. It's a little tough for real estate agents, because there's 160 of you in 2 offices, right? So it knows that there's not 160 businesses located there, and so it will only allocate in Google Local one person for the exact address that's at the Chesapeake office address, for example, or the Virginia Beach office address. So what I would suggest is that you change that address to be your home address. That's the way I would do it, because that way it's unique. It's not something somebody else is going to have, so that you personally can actually go rank online. And there's some reason for doing that. When Google does that, that will give the real estate group the opportunity, when in that top 10 that I showed you of plumbers, well, let's say that was realtors. And Google actually decides when and when not to put those into the results. But can you imagine if those 10 were 10 different Treg real estate agents? That would be great. So the way to do it, the way to start to do it, it won't happen unless you guys all have unique addresses. And so what I do with my own thing, and what I like to do, is to have my own unique address on it. And the only way I can see that it'll work for you guys is to have your own in there. All right. Somebody asked me something about, okay, when you say set up a Google account or Gmail account, do you mean establish a separate email address other than a personal email? Yes, that's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. And so it's going to ask you to, traditionally it'll ask you for a Gmail address, and you can forward the Gmail, the stuff that comes into that address right onto your own stuff. But you can do it either way you want to. What we really don't want, we want to separate between the business entity and the personal entity. Okay, Google's a real stickler about that. They want to keep your name, so your name as a business and your name as a person separate. So you want to put them in there like that. At least for now, that's the instructions that we have. So it's that's kind of important. Okay, and that also may there's another reason for that, and that's that you may have more than one business. Let's say that you're somebody who does property management. I would argue that you should put your property management as a different business, and here's the reason why. It's real easy for somebody with a property management business, if you don't fix their toilet's dripping or something, and they call you in the middle of the night, and you don't get to them till the next day, for them to write up a review that's not flattering of you because they're ticked off, and there's nothing you could have done about it, right? You're making your best effort. Property management is one of those, and in the case of someone, who works with mortgages, for example, it would be the same way. My recommendation would be the same thing, because, you're not the one who turned them down for the loan, but they are going to be, so if you've got separate businesses, you want to keep them on separate accounts so that the reviews are accurate. But that's a good question. Okay, so we're setting these up, and when it comes to the description, it says include your top product and service keywords. Now, what does that mean? Well, what that means is if you want to rank for Virginia Beach Realtor, then include some of those phrases and some of those things in the description. Okay, Sally sells real estate and homes in the Virginia Beach and Hampton Roads area, that sort of thing. As anything, you want to make sure that you're writing for actual people, right? So you want to write something that's enticing for them, not just for, to make Google rank it higher, because, it's easy to do that and just stuff keywords in there, but it really does, people don't believe me about this, but at the end of the day, honest to goodness, you'll do better just by being creative and writing something really nice that describes what you do very well. And every time I say that, everybody's like, yeah, right, okay, but what should I really do if I want to rank? The truth of it is, write it that way. It actually does work better. Here's some ideas, though. I would put a wide variety of things. I would include terms like realtor, because realtor shows up more often when somebody Googles Hampton Roads Realtor. It's more likely that Google will include those local results. I would include something like, real estate agent, real estate broker, those sorts of terms. And obviously, if that applies to you, if you're a broker, put that in there. When they're, that's one of those things that really does actually help, because you're describing who you are and what you do, but it's also something where notice I went to, plumber. Well, if somebody's looking for a real estate agent and they see that list, what are they likely to type? They're likely to type realtor, real estate agent, real estate broker, sell, there could be, sells homes, anything like that. So that's really what you want to do is not stuff it, but include it. And that's why I like the word include, is because it isn't like, something that really looks bad. And here's a way to do it. Read it out loud to yourself, and if it sounds funny, you probably stuffed it too many times. That's also a good way to catch mistakes on when you're proofreading anything, is to read it out loud, because if you read it to yourself, your mind kind of covers up all the mistakes, and you can blow right through stuff, and you won't believe you missed it. But if you read it out loud, you'll definitely catch it. So that's how you do it. Now the next thing, so that's you can get your Google Places set up. I would include, you can add things on there like your website. I would do that. That will, if you don't add your website, it will immediately take them back just to your Google Places page with the reviews. If you add your website, it will actually take them to your website. Let's go back to where we were here. Let me see if I've got it. Is this it? Okay. Let's go back and let's do a search. Okay, we're going to search the web, and this time we're going to search for plumbers again, right? Okay, now you notice if somebody has, now everybody here has listed a website. Okay, so if you've listed a website, Stemler Plumbing, if you notice right down here in the lower left-hand corner, it says www.stemler-plumbing.com. That takes them right to your website. If they go here, it's a places page, which takes them out to there. Now, if, for example, somebody didn't put a website in, it would say Stemler Plumbing, but it would take them right to the Google Places page, okay, because it didn't have a website to take them to. So please make sure you put your website in there. It's important. It gives you more. It'll give you more direct traffic back to your website, and I guarantee you, no matter how pretty you make the Places page, your website's a lot better. It's a lot better place for them to go. They can connect with you, and there's a lot more information that they can have. Okay, going back to where we were. All right, so you've set that up, and the next thing that you're going to do, we've talked about unique addresses. The other thing that I would throw in here is a lot of times realtors get negative reviews because they do put them in on the brokerage, and sometimes if they use the brokerage address, what will happen is that Google will think they're fighting over the address. It's not that Google is trying to do that on purpose. They just aren't that smart. And what ends up happening is that nobody gave the little Google bot that goes out an IQ test. The thing messes up, and what ends up happening is there's a realtor gets blamed for stuff, and that's the and so if let's say you're the one that's in there, it shows your name, but then it shows the reviews from the overall office. Sometimes I've seen that happen in several cases, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if that happened to somebody already in here that has a Google Places page set up. What happens when that happens is that you get the negative review, and you didn't do that, and so you're trying to figure out how to correct it. So the best way to do it is correct the address, make it a different address. Okay. Somebody asked about if you're a Premier person, if you've got a Premier account as a for Zillow, or if you have a Facebook account, should you include those? Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything that's a positive, I would include, right? I mean, anything that would tend to bring people back to you, I would include. I think it's good for people to see that you've got a whole, there's more to you than just, hi, here's my website, come see me. The main links that I would send off, though, the primary one would be the website. And then I would, if you had a blog, then I would put that second, and then probably my Facebook, I would put that on there because a lot of people connect to that. I would probably put anything like any of the third-party type of things third-party things after that. So let's go, and then somebody else asked a question, and I'm going to try and find it here. Okay, can you give us an example or two of addresses that would cause this to happen? Sure. If you put in as your place of business the exact same address as the Chesapeake or Virginia Beach office, and everybody else does that too, that would be that would be a problem. We have seen it in places. And I don't remember your exact address right off the top of my head. I know it's in Chesapeake. I know it's in Virginia, but I can't remember the address itself. But and in some cases, I had it happen in Louisville at the brokerage where I was at, and where one person was the first one in to sign up on Google Places. They signed in, and so they were officially considered the brokerage. And so people were putting negative reviews on, and the address was 10525 Timberwood Circle, Suite 100, Louisville, Kentucky 40223. The problem is that everybody else started using the same thing. And so then we had agents be creative, and they were like, okay, I'm going to do it 10525 Timberwood Circle without using the Suite 100. And that was registered as a separate address, right? But there's only 3 or 4 that could get away with that at the office, and we had 100 agents. So the point is, you want to make, rather than everybody sign up at the main office, it's not necessarily it's not a benefit for you. Don't do that. What I would do is put my address as my home address. That's what I would do personally. You can do it what you want, but that's how these kind of things happen. And it's because Google assumes that each agent is its own entity, and so it assumes that you're fighting over the same exact address. It, in their world, everything is a unique name and everything is a unique address. And so that's why I say it's better to avoid that issue. The other thing that I have seen people do is to get, like, we used to call them mailboxes, et cetera, around there, but usually it's it's just a UPS store or one of those. Get one of those mailboxes and use that. I had a couple of friends that were realtors that were security conscious, and they were worried that if they put their home address out there, and they were worried about somebody stalking them or whatever. And it's not like your home address isn't out online anyway, but that was the way to do it. So that's where they got their mail, and that's where they put as their address. Now they were a little more creative. If and here's the extra credit stuff for today. If you really wanted to be sneaky, what you would do is you go to, like, for example, if you wanted to rank for Google Local for Virginia Beach Realtor, go there, and when you see the addresses that are there, if you find a mailboxes, et cetera, that's right close to where the center of the map is that they are there, rent an address and put your mailbox there. That's going a long way to get that, though. And so my recommendation is just use your home address. Your home address is out there anyway, and that's going to be unique. There's not going to be 5 other realtors going on there, and it gives you an opportunity to have unique reviews that are positive. The other thing that I would tell you is when you set these up, go out and have a couple of your satisfied customers submit some reviews for you, right? They're testimonials. They're positive. If you put 4 or 5 positive testimonials on those things, you will save yourself so many problems, because even if you do have one person who is taking it upon themselves to make your life miserable, you'll at least it'll be counterbalanced by all the good stuff that's out there. So like most things when there are reviews, and I'm not saying at all to go get your friend Joe that's never done any business with you to start filling up Google Places with reviews, but there's nothing wrong with having people that know you and have done business with you put reviews out there, and many of you have a lot of those people that you would put on as testimonials on your website anyway. There's nothing wrong with asking them to sign on to this and do that. I think it's a great way to make sure that there's positive content out there about you online, and it's really simple to do. All they have to do is, you send them a link to your Google Places page, and they type in a review. Not really difficult at all. Okay. The next thing, well, we're segueing right into that, is you need to monitor your reviews. Okay. Once a month or so, I go out and I take a look at what people are saying about me online to make sure that it's not unkind. And the problem is, as a realtor, sooner or later you're involved in a very emotional side of somebody's life, and sooner or later some of them will get they will tend to say somebody's going to write a negative review about you. It's just going to happen. If you get a review that's not you, you can flag it as inappropriate and say, this doesn't apply to me, this isn't a customer of mine, and they will often take it down. Don't get upset if they don't. That's the time to add more good stuff in and just outweigh the other stuff, rather than stress about it. Where it says somebody in Google Places, I know somebody in this room that is online right now is going to go out and they're going to have a negative review. I'm sure somebody already has one, or somebody in the office at Treg has one. It's not like being shunned or anything like that. It's not that big a deal. Somebody's going to write something about you sooner or later. It's okay. So outweigh it with some good stuff and flag it, and you're probably doing the best you can do, and you will really get as far as you can get. But it makes sense to monitor them because a lot of times you don't know why businesses stopped coming in. And if people are seeing negative reviews about you, whoops, hang on, I got to go back up here. All right. Let's go down here. We've talked about Google Local. Okay. So just monitor them. It makes sense to monitor it every month or so. Just take an hour while you're sitting there at an open house if there's nobody there, and just take a look at what's being said about you online. It will really help you. Okay, if we put our home address as the business, aren't we in violation of Virginia real estate laws? Not that I know of. Not in any other state that I know of. You're not, as far as I know, you can put it on there on Google Local as that being your mailing address for the business, and it's not. You're not saying I'm a brokerage. You're just saying that's where I'm at. You're trying to make it unique. That's all. But I will double check that for you and make sure, because I don't know Virginia well enough. I can tell you that in Kentucky it is not a problem. In Indiana it's not a problem, and I can tell you in Tennessee that it's not a problem. But I don't know, and I haven't run up against anything in Virginia, but I will check. So, okay. You can also, the other way around it is, and somebody said this because we're getting a number of questions now. You can also put you could put that address on there, and then you can, in the notes, in the remarks about who you are, you can say I work with, I'm an agent with a real estate group, and you can put their address on there on that page, which would satisfy the requirements, so you wouldn't be in violation, I don't believe, of any license law. But what name do you use for the company or organization? If everyone else is using Treg, what should I do? What you should be doing is you should have your name, comma, realtor, and then you could put the real estate group after it on a second line, or after it as an extension on the same line. So basically what you're doing is you're setting your name as a realtor at the real estate group. I hope that makes sense. It's not it's not there. Somebody's asked about if you set up a Google alert, which is something we've talked about in the past. Will that help you when someone's to know when someone's setting up a review? Yes, and it's a great idea. But is it rock solid certain that it's going to pick it up? No. In about 90% of the cases, and I'm not sure who asked it, but in about 90% of the cases, it will pick them up, but I don't want to guarantee that. So that's why I say check it out every once in a while. Google Alerts are great, but sometimes they don't pick things up. And I've had cases where people have gone out and they've set one up, and they think, oh yeah, I'm good, I don't have anything going on. And meanwhile, their business has gone down because somebody's put a complaint up there or something, and they haven't known about it. So another question is, can you modify the page once it's set up? Absolutely. You can go back and modify it as much as you want to, whenever you want to. So let's say, for example, and I'm going to go ahead and that was Joe Cross that asked that question. Thanks, Joe. And I'm going to use you as an example if it's okay, because you've got a team, right? So let's say that you wanted to add, more people onto it, or let's say that you wanted to add, let's say that you change addresses. That's a good example. Whatever it is, whatever the case is, you can change it, and you can go back in, and it's just like working on the reviews and such. You can go back in and modify those as well. So I hope that helps. So I would set up going back to the Google Alerts. Would I set up a Google Alert for it? Absolutely. I would definitely set up a Google Alert, but I wouldn't rely on that as my only source of info. It will help you because most of the time it will catch them, but it's not 100% rock solid certain thing. Okay, moving on to listings. Let's talk about this for a second. Actually, hang on. Does somebody? Somebody's got another question here. If you set up a Google, no, I got that already. Okay. Okay, I think I've got everybody's question. Hopefully I do on the Google Places pages. Those are the key, and by the way, that's the basic element of getting ranked for Google Local. You almost have to have that in order to get ranked for Google Local. Then the next step is we're going to add more things into it. So let's talk a little bit about the listings. They're already syndicated, so listings go out everywhere. The real key to getting your listings viewed is being being better than the competition. I've teased you guys in the past and used the example of eHarmony, right? And I made the wisecrack about ugly houses don't get dates. But the truth of it is that by going in and actually looking at your photos, you can price them correctly. That's important. Price them on even numbers. That'll get them more exposure. Photos, getting the right photos on listings turns out is huge. And I want to go show you a couple of things that are going to add to that, and I'm going to show you a couple of little tips regardless of what camera you have. It doesn't matter what camera you have. I'm going to show you and what camera you use. Obviously, my first recommendation is that if you can swing it and you're going to go do it, take professional pictures. Have somebody professional take the pictures, because they've got like the ultimate killer camera setup. But if you can't do that, I'm going to show you some ways to cheat. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the different ways of doing this. So this is the Realtor version of eHarmony. I pulled this off of a local one in Shepherdsville, Kentucky this morning, and I literally pulled it off this morning. Okay, which house? Both of them were $340,000. Which house? And this is honest to goodness the photo. Which house is going to get more showings? There is no doubt that the one on the bottom is going to get more showings than the one on the top. Okay, not because the house is any better or worse, but because the person taking the picture left a big old bunch of sky and nothing about the grass around it. And this person, when they took the picture, fired a nice centered shot and put it in. And we're going to talk a little bit about not just how to compose pictures, because that's pretty simple stuff, but I'm going to show you some tricks on how to take photos with whatever photo setup you have. There's a couple of tricks that you can use, and then we're going to go talk about some other options that you have as well. Okay, so I want to take you out to this blog that was done by Redfin, and Redfin is a company that's out on the West Coast mostly, and they said is a picture worth $1,000, true or false? And they went out, and let me pull up hopefully it'll pop up here in a sec. If it doesn't, I've got it back on the other. Okay, let's do it here. All right, so what's going to happen is, oops, don't want that. Go to pictures worth 1,000 words. Okay. All right. So it says a picture's worth $1,000, true or false. In our series of reports on the real estate scientist, we bring you data-driven, no-nonsense answers to help you untangle the real estate advice that you commonly get. And it goes through, what they did was they actually went out and they looked at all the photos online, or a bunch of them, and they took the original asking price of the property, and they took enough of these, and believe it or not, each photo that's out there online, a lot of them have little meta tags, metadata on there, so that it can tell them what kind of camera took the picture. And so what they did was they took them and they eliminated the homes that were distress sales, like SEO, REO properties and that sort of thing. The REO properties, they took them out, so they weren't a factor in it, and they took every one of them out that was like, for example, somebody where they took the pictures with their iPhone or something like that. So they took those out. So what they were comparing was somebody that used a high quality digital camera, the SLR cameras, the big ones, versus somebody that just took one with a point and shoot camera, which they assumed to be a realtor taking that photo as opposed to a professional. Now, obviously, some realtors do use professional photos, right, and professional photo setups, and so those got included with as a professional photo. But what they did was they went and took a look at how much more the property went for on average after they did it. Now, you can argue if you want to with the methodology that they used, but the point is well made. Okay, on the especially on the higher end properties, there was a resounding yes. You know, this is all great and everything, but what interested me was down here a little farther. Okay, it wasn't just price. As a real estate agent, what you're interested in is how many more people am I going to get to view the property. And it says, you know, homes shot with a digital SLR camera receive an average of 61% more views than their peers across all price tiers, have a 47% higher asking price per square foot, have an increased likelihood of selling for homes priced above $300,000. That's enough info for me right there to make me want to go ahead and really work at getting some really nice photos on if I don't do anything else. And I thought this was interesting. So I recommend that you take a look at it and read it. I will leave the link to it up so that you can. But I wanted to show you that. I think it's important. And I know, you know, everybody is out there going, oh gosh, I don't need another guilt trip about my photos because I'm not sure whether I'm, you know, how I am. Here's a way to honestly assess your photos. Look at your photos the same way that you would look at the client's house when you take them to an open house. Go out there and compare and do a photo CMA on it. Look at the other houses that are in the same neighborhood, and if your photos don't absolutely kick the snot out of the other photos in the neighborhood, then you may want to consider upping your game a little bit. Okay? Think about it that way. It is a beauty contest. There's no doubt about it. And realize photos are the one thing that you can do on one site that actually will affect every single site that is seen out there. So, okay, so let's go back. Oops, I'm going to go down here, back down to where we were. Okay. All right, so okay, let's check. Somebody said they lost the audio. Or let me know if you still lost the audio, because I don't. It looks to me like it's going okay. Okay. Now let's go. So how do we go ahead and make a photo? We're going to go down a page here. How do we make photo taking easy, even if you have a camera? Let's say you've got one of those good point and shoot cameras, but you're like, I don't want to spend $600-800 right now on a big old camera. I don't want to learn that. You can do it two ways. Obviously, you could hire somebody to do it, but there's an easier way to improve the quality of the ones you're taking with your little point and shoot. And the first one, the first hint is this: use a tripod. Tripods are $25. Turn off the flash. If you turn off the flash and make the camera take pictures more slowly, the camera will adjust. Most of them have an auto adjust feature that when they're in less light, the photo takes more time to take. The shutter stays open longer, and the purpose of that is so that it soaks up the ambient light. The problem most times with those little point and shoot cameras is their flash is only good for about 10 feet. And if you're in a room that's 15 or 20 feet long, it tends to put light, you know, take all the shadows out and put a really bright light for the first 10 feet of the room, and then the back half of the room is really dark. And so it really messes it up. Okay? So that's the first thing. Read if there's a manual that came with the camera, read the manual. There's no way that I could explain how to make it the camera take pictures more slowly, but you can do it. There's a manual setting in there on almost every single one of them that allows you to do that. So it's important that you take the time to do that. The second thing is to adjust, and by the way, by doing that, what you get is you get the natural light that's in the room. So the room doesn't look with that whited out light and then really drab look, really dark look at the back. The other problem we have a lot of times is when there's sunlight coming in the windows and that sort of thing. The way to take care of that is to, what happens, the way that a camera works is it tries to get a nice average. And so if it's got bright sunlight coming in one window and the rest of the room is dark, it averages out and says, okay, well, let's just take the average. Well, the problem with that is it leaves your room looking very dingy and dark, which you'll see a lot on Realtor photos. If you go through on any MLS, you'll see that they're there. There's a setting on your camera called exposure compensation. It may be a little different, but it always starts with exposure. But it compensates. It's the setting that automatically sets your exposure compensation. So what you do, and it's pretty simple to do. You have to look in your user manual, okay, and it'll tell you how to do it, or you can flip through the menu till you find it. But turn it up, and then take some pictures, and I promise you, you'll go, Eric, really? It was that simple? Yeah, it's that simple. What it does is it takes it, it may white out some of the, so for example, if you got a bright light coming through the window, it may wash out you won't be able to see the robin sitting on the porch outside. It'll wash that out a little bit. But inside the room that you're taking, if you're taking a picture of a patio or a picture of a living room with windows going to the outside, it will actually make it a lot better. So is it as good as a professional photo? No, but it will look a heck of a lot better, and you will get more showings, and you'll actually fool people. Okay? And here's the other one. Turn the white light setting. There's a setting in there, and usually it's up on the top dial of most of the cameras, and it'll have there'll be one that has a little sunshine thing, and then another one that's got clouds, and another one that, it'll have a couple other little pictures in there too. But change the white light setting to clouds. What that does is it filters it out. If it's on bright sun, what it does when you're inside a house is it automatically makes it darker. It makes it kind of like bluish green more. And it's just slight, but I will tell you that if you do that, your photos will be brighter right off the bat. Okay? You won't have to, you really, I know it sounds, these three tricks sound too simple to be true, but they work. And just by doing those three things, you're not going to make, you're not going to, be Ansel Adams or anything like that, but you'll be able to get a lot better photos a lot quicker with no expense, just by changing those things. You take the tripod, you turn the flash off, you take the pictures more slowly, you turn the exposure compensation up, and you turn the white light setting to clouds instead of bright sun, and it will take more true warm pictures with balanced light that actually look like what you want. And so that's just 3 hints to help you stand out and help you get found. Believe it or not, will it, and everybody asks me, they go, well, gosh, Eric, that's great, but will that get me more showings? I promise you, if you do it on a regular basis, it will. It will get you more showings and go from there. Somebody's asked me to go back through what exposure compensation is. Exposure compensation is this. On most, and I won't say every because I don't know, but on most of the point-and-shoot cameras, there is a setting. And what it does, your camera adjusts for the light, right? And your camera adjusts to stay open to make sure it gets enough light. If it sees a light coming in from a bright window, it's going to take that as I don't need to stay open very long, and it's going to look at the other side of the room and say, it's dark, I need to stay open a long time, but then it's going to average the two of them out. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So it just takes a flat average. Well, the problem is taking a flat average tends to still have a bright window. The window doesn't look that much better or worse, but the room itself inside looks dingy. And so basically it's a setting that allows your camera, what you want to set it for is to take it, and usually it moves up in a third of a stop increments. So if you hit it, and a lot of times you need to take it up 2 or 3 of those. So what you do is you just adjust it up a ways and try it and take a picture, and you'll see the difference. So what you want to do, they call it exposure compensation. Some of them call it exposure adjustment. So they call it different things, but for the most part, it's exposure compensation. And what you want to do is turn that up. It's not on every camera, but it's on most of them. And you want to turn it up so that the camera holds the shutter open longer, because it will tend, if there's a bright light coming in from the window, to overcompensate it down and make the shot look dark. And if you combine that with using the tripod and turning the white light setting to clouds, the combination of the 3 of those, it will give you a longer exposure. You'll use natural light, which means you won't have the shadows and stuff that you normally see. A lot of the shadows that you see on pictures are caused by the flash, because the light's all coming from one side of the room, which means it shoots shadows up against the wall, and so that's why it does that. The white lights, and when you've combined all those techniques together, that's why the 3 of them together work as one package, and you'll see the quality of your photos go up. They'll look better online, and I promise you will get more. Hopefully I answered that question okay. I think that was Kelvin that asked that one. If I did, if I didn't, let me know, Kelvin. I was trying to make sure I got it on there. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so now that's how we do it to make the photos look better, right? Now I want to take it up a notch. One of the things that I've noticed is that people are using more videos these days, and I've tried to find the right way to do that. Now that we're taking great photos, I want to show you a little tool that you can use, and some people have used it, some people haven't, but it's really simple. Okay, you can first you got to have the great photos. You can go to animoto.com, and it's just ANIMOTO.com, and you can actually take those photos and turn them into a video. If you've seen a lot of these other folks that go out on YouTube, they get people to do that, and then they put the video on their website. Well, you all have a website now that you can put video on, and what Animoto does, it doesn't allow you to use true video. It's not like you're shooting it with a video camera, which is very difficult to do, by the way. And this is a quick way of being able to actually do a very similar thing, and I'm going to show you an example of it. And it has music in the background and really works well. If you go to animoto.com, they actually have some samples of it, and I'm going to show you an example of a condo development in a second, so you can see it. But then you post the videos onto YouTube, which will get traffic, and you can post them on other sites like Vimeo and some of the others. And then you can also post them on your website, right? Let's say you put a featured listings page on your website, and you have the one listing on it, this listing that you've got, and then you put a video right underneath it. That's kind of a neat thing to be able to show the people that you're working with, that you've got the house listed with. So that's a good way to do things. Animoto, the nice thing I like about it is it's simple. Realtors don't need 16 things more to do during the course of a day. You guys are busy enough. But this is a quick way to take the videos, and so if you haven't, take the time to go to Animoto. I'm actually going to go out and show you one of them, and oh my gosh, I'm almost out of time, but I'm going to actually take you out there and show you one. And if you go to animoto.com, you can see it up here, /sample video, and I'm just going to hit play, and I want to show you. Okay, this is what it does. And the nice thing about it is you can choose your music that goes with it, and you can choose which photos you want to go when, and you can type text in and all that good stuff, so that it actually looks like a pretty darn good video. Now, it's the transitions between there, they allow you a lot of those, so that works really well. And it looks pretty stylish. It doesn't have the regular video, but it does have, okay, I'm going to pause it for a second. It does not have a couple of things that you may want, right? You may want to have a video motion, or you may want to have somebody doing it. That takes a lot more time and a lot more expense. This, is incredibly easy to do. Okay, and at the end of it, the nice thing is you can have there's a link at the end of it. If you use their Pro version, which is, I think it's $39 a month, but it's for as many as you want to do, you can put a link that goes back to your website. Okay, and you can take them right back to your website, to the page that's for that property. So there's lots of ways you can do it. Animoto is a neat way. It isn't. I mean, and then you share the video that is created. Basically, it's creating videos out of still photos. I know some of you may have done it already. If you haven't been there in a while, go back and see what they've added. They've added some, a lot more music, a lot more different things where you can actually really create something that's pretty darn good. And the nice thing about it is you'll pick up traffic. Now I'm going to show you one other little tip. If you're going to do that, make sure you use the same name, address, and email in your YouTube profile that you use with the Google Places. Okay? And as we start using that, you'll start building that up. In the profile, it doesn't really matter because people aren't looking at it, but Google looks at it, and that's how they know where to put you in there. So make sure that you're uniform with how you do that. Somebody asked about something about Imprev. Okay, can we link our Imprev onto the websites? Can we do video from that site also? The answer to that is I don't know. If they didn't in the past, they didn't allow it. It was mostly an Imprev thing where they didn't allow their video to be pulled off of there. So it's not like it's out on YouTube and it's open to be used everywhere. So that's the rub. But I honestly don't know if that's changed recently, so I will check into it. That's a great question, and I don't know, because Imprev has great stuff that you can use too. That would be an ideal thing to be able to go out. The reason why they didn't do it in the past was because they were worried that somebody would take it and try and reverse engineer what they were doing. I actually talked to the owner of the company, and Renwick, and that's what he told me. And this was, gosh, 4 years ago, because I asked the same question. I think it was Marge. I think that was you that asked that. That's a great point. I mean, why can't we? Well, they were worried about losing the way to do that. But it's the limitations on their end. It's really not the website. Our website can take on anything that we can do, but it's especially easy with YouTube videos. So what are we? What do we need to do? I gotta wrap up here fairly soon. But one of the things that people think is that it takes a lot of money to do a decent video. It takes a lot of time, and it's a big hassle. Using Animoto, if you don't want to go to the extent of full-blown video, and I could show you some incredible videos that people have done, but what they are, you have to ask yourself: is the effort, is it worth it at the end of the day? Am I spending so much time creating this massive video and this complicated thing that is it worth it? Versus just going to Animoto and doing something that's nice and quick and fairly easy. So you can do that, and then you can share that with your Facebook friends. That's a great way to pick up some folks and keep things going. Okay, got some homework for the next time. We're gonna try and wrap up. If anybody has any questions, feel free to fire away, and I will try and answer them. But set up your Google Places page for your business. Correct any address or email issues if you've already got one set up. Be unique. Make sure that you add in the information. Make sure that you dispute any incorrect incorrect reviews, and then create a YouTube account and create an Animoto account. The free one actually has a watermark in it and some other stuff. I'm not big on the free ones, and but this is just homework for this next couple of weeks until we get together again. And go out to a few of your listings and either take better pictures using some of the techniques that we talked about, or go pro. Either way you want to do it. Use it as an opportunity to get them to maybe take some fall pictures. We're changing seasons right now, so it's a great time to go and get some fresh pictures taken and freshen them up a little bit. Okay, next time what we're going to do is we're going to take this foundation that we've built, right, with this basic couple of three things, and we're going to kick it up a notch. What we're going to do is we're going to really work on getting you guys more Google local exposure. So when somebody types in realtors or somebody types in, real estate agents, that sort of thing, you have the opportunity to pull in some more of that traffic. We're going to put the Animoto videos on your Treg site. I'm going to show you how to do that. And we're going to tag the photos with keywords to help people find them. And I'm going to show you some techniques that you may not have thought of for that are easy. They just take a couple minutes. And the whole quest of this thing is to find some easy ways to get you free exposure for your listings and for you online. So I hope that helps and provides you with what you need. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. It's just Eric Blackwell at insightbb.com. And let's see if anybody else has any questions before we wrap up. Okay, if you do have any questions, feel free to email me. I will be happy to help you. Hope you guys have a great couple of weeks, and go sell some stuff and have some fun. Take care, guys. We'll see you then.